I think the SU-16a, as I mentioned before, great everyman's rifle, good stopgap rifle, potentially keep this thing for a very long time, make it your only battle rifle. It will still do a great job as that. Hello my friends, Late Boy Scout here with my review of the Kel-Tec SU-16a, obviously in desert tan coloration. Now, they don't make it in that coloration anymore from what I understand. It was made that way for a time, and then it was all snatched up, and now they don't make them that way anymore. If you want one in this color, you can either paint the one you've got, or try to find one on the secondary market in this color. Otherwise, you know, it works the same as every other SU-16a, so don't get too hung up on the color. I've had this gun for a little under a year now, taking it out a handful of times for some different types of shooting. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. You know, all the things that Kel-Tec says about this, and I'll go through some of their marketing on their website here in a little bit, apply. You know, I agree with pretty much everything they say about it. It's a great everyman sport utility rifle. It's very lightweight at around 5 pounds. Some of the cool features on it are the fact that the folding front stock comes down and creates a bipod. This piece right here, the actual back, the back stock, from the grip all the way to the butt, actually folds at this pivot point right here and comes all the way forward so that the gun becomes this long. Okay, it doesn't fire from that configuration, but it's great for storage. I don't like the sights on it, but everything else about it is pretty nice. Pretty nice. I really like the gun overall. Let's get into some of Kel-Tec's marketing text, and I'll try to point out some of the things I agree with and disagree with according to what they say about this gun. According to Kel-Tec, the SU-16 is a gas-operated, semi-loading rifle chambered in 5.56mm NATO caliber. This particular one actually says 223 rem right there, which is what we have on the table. It doesn't say 5.56 anywhere on the gun, so I have not shot 5.56 through it. It may be good for 5.56, I don't know for sure. Like, I'm kind of thinking that this is one of the early iterations of the gun, so maybe it was 223 at first, and then maybe they beefed it up to 5.56 a little bit after that. Not sure, whatever the case. The general rule is you shoot what caliber the gun says on it. Don't shoot anything else through it. So, as Kel-Tec says, it's intended to be the perfect everyman's sport and utility rifle. The rifling is 1 turn and 9 inches, right-hand twist. Some unique features make the SU-16a a versatile sporting firearm, including a chrome-lined bore and chamber, now standard. Okay, I think that's true about this one. An integrated Picatinny rail for mounting different sight systems, which is definitely true about this one. That's a Picatinny rail up there with a Bushnell TRS-25. The stock, or the forend, folds down to form a bipod for increased accuracy, as I mentioned before, and I'll demonstrate that soon. The stock can store spare magazines. 2 10-round magazines or 1 20 to 30 round magazine will fit. These are the magazines that came with the gun right here, these little black things. They work fine. They do only store 10, and they do hide up in here pretty well. I'm not going to bother jamming that up in there right now. It takes a little effort. And the second magazine is already in the gun, which is why the bolt is able to lock backwards. The stock and trigger mechanism can be folded forward for added safety and to facilitate secure storage or carry under extreme conditions. And I mentioned that before as well. That's the pivot point. Folds forward. I'll demonstrate that pretty soon. Some of the tech specifications. As I mentioned, 223, weight unloaded is about 5 pounds. The length open in this configuration is about 37.4 inches. The length closed is about 26.4, so you lose a full 10 inches, 11 or so inches. That's really nice. Magazine capacity, that's the ones that come with it, 10 rounds. Barrel length, 18.5 inches. Okay, it's not your 16. But 18.5 means added velocity to your 223 round. So, good thing I think. The barrel diameter, 3/4 to 5/8. The twist, as I mentioned, is 1 and 9. The bolt travel, 4.1. Trigger pull, 5 pounds to 7 pounds. I'd say that's about correct. And the barrel weight, about 26.1 ounces. As they go on to say, this SU-16 has a conventional long-stroke gas piston operation and utilizes the proven Johnson-Stoner breech locking system. It is compatible with standard AR-15/M16 magazines, as seen all around here, and I can confirm that. The reciprocating bolt handle and magazine catch are on the right side, as you see, while the push bolt safety can be changed to work from either side. There's the push bolt safety, and you can swap that to work it from either side, as they said. Except for barrel and operating components, the SU-16 is made entirely of high-impact reinforced polymer. And that's everything I'm going to say. That's all the stuff I'm going to read from Kel-Tec's website. Yeah, all reinforced polymer. That's what makes it a 5-pound gun, and that's what makes it a very carryable gun for emergency situations. Let's go ahead and demonstrate the folding capability of this gun. Let's go ahead and fold this doggone thing in half, and to do that I need something to push that pin out with. How about, what have we got here? Oh, I know what I've got. Yeah. A Leatherman squirt. That's all it takes. Let's get in here, push that little pin right there until it looks like that. Pull it out, don't lose it. Let's go ahead and pop that magazine actually. Bolts closed, and now you've got a gun that's folded in half. And if you were to store this, you of course would want to put this pin back in there where it stays well enough, and you've got a folded in half gun. That's pretty cool, man. That's a really neat thing about Kel-Tec guns. You know, they do some pretty innovative designs, and I think this is a great representation of that. What's another good representation of that? How about the Sub 2000? Okay, that also is a folding gun. I'll demonstrate that real quickly by lifting this trigger guard and then pushing that. Clicks into place and locks like that. Okay, folds into a smaller package than the SU-16, but of course it only shoots 9mm, not .223. Whatever the case, I think Kel-Tec, with these folding designs, is you know, they're kind of doing something cool. They're innovating in ways that a lot of folks aren't doing. That's cool, but it's also kind of like, well, I wish you'd do it right. You know, in some ways I feel like they do innovate, you know, they create neat things for great prices, but I almost wish they would spend a little more time, refine it a little better, make it cost a little more perhaps, and give us something that, you know, is an heirloom gun, you know, something we really love. What they give us instead is a great working gun, okay? It works well, and you're not ashamed of, you're not afraid of getting it dirty, getting it beat up a little bit, and just doing the work with it. So you basically get what you get when you buy a Kel-Tec. You know, it's inexpensive, it's lightweight, and it's got some neat features, but as far as it being rugged, reliable forever, I don't know. I wouldn't really count on that. That said, Kel-Tec does have a great customer service department, and their warranty is really, really good. You know, from what I understand, from what I've been told, I haven't had to send anything in for warranty repair at this point. I have operated another friend's Kel-Tec gun. That was the P3AT, which had some serious problems. Man, that gun needed some love from Kel-Tec, and it was probably going to get it at some point. I never, you know, it wasn't my gun, so I didn't bother sending it into them. But my point is, things can go wrong with almost any gun. Kel-Tec, from what they say and from what I hear, is there to fix problems that their guns have. So that's cool. Let's get this thing back into its normal configuration so I can show you the fold down front stock forend, so that you can see how that turns into a bipod. That's also a pretty simple operation. There's your forend, and you've got these two little tabs on either side, here and there, and all you do is pull back on them like that. That all releases, folds down, and now you've got a gun with a bipod. Okay, again, for stability and longer range shooting, and it works. It works fine. Now I wish that it had a way to sort of lock in this position. It just kind of flaps around here. I wish it didn't do that. I wish there was a way that it kind of came here and then retained in that position a little better, and then you'd have to kind of force it backwards to get it back. Because it's really difficult if you're on a shooting table or any other sort of slick surface. It's difficult to kind of keep it forward, keep it where you want it to be. It has a tendency to kind of fall down like that. You know, if you're on a slick plastic table that you brought out to the desert to do your shooting, yeah, man, it's a little difficult to work with. You're gonna have to put it on top of something else. Like sometimes I'll put it on top of the shooting bag that I brought out, you know, and set it on top of that, just to give it some traction. You know, give it some place to stay put, hold still. So I wish that they would make a little change to that, have that, you know, stick out and remain in this position, retain that in that position. It doesn't quite do it. And then to bring it back into its folding position, it's just a matter of, you know, bringing it back and then squeezing those together. That's it. And let's squeeze them together without pinching your fingers or your hand in here, by the way. Watch out for your flesh. And done. It's back. That's it. That's all it takes. So it's a cool feature. You know, it's like I said before, Kel-Tec gives you these innovative features, but sometimes I wish they did it a little more right. You know, spend a little more time, made you pay a little more money, and just kind of do it right. So I've given you the specs and features that I feel are really significant on this gun. Let's do a little bit of a muzzle to butt evaluation of the gun. Here's what we're looking at. I talked about the 1 in 9 twist on that barrel, and let's talk about this front sight. This is one of the things that I really dislike about Kel-Tec rifles. The SU-16 and the Sub 2K have the same front sight, and I dislike it. I dislike it. This one's got a little retaining clip on it. That one does not. By the way, I think I mentioned that this gun is cleared. If I didn't mention that, you should have seen that when the magazine came out, and you know, nothing's coming out of that, so it is a clear gun. Get that cap back on the Bushnell. Get back on there, Bushnell. Okay, so I do not like the front sight. What is that? Is that fiber optic? I don't know if that's fiber optic, or is it just some sort of a plastic? It seems like it's just a kind of a plastic, kind of a translucent plastic. I really don't think that's anything fiber optic. It's okay as far as visibility goes. You know, your eyes do pick up that plastic, and maybe more so than just a black sheet of plastic or metal or whatever. Maybe more so. Adjusting the front sight, either for windage or for elevation, can be done, but it's kind of clunky. Okay, it's kind of clunky. What you've got here, let's look at this. Well, you've got the nut on that side, as you can see, but you can see what's surrounding the nut is basically a hex. Okay, and that captures that nut, but it also allows you to do some adjusting. Okay, so what you would do is you would loosen the screw that you see in there, and make sure that you don't lose your nut as you do that. Once you've loosened that screw a bit, then you get yourself a little hex wrench, a little Allen wrench, and you actually turn this interior piece. I don't know if you can see, but there are actual threads inside of there. Okay, so the way this works, the way this front sight works is, and I figured this out on my Sub 2000, the way this works is, by loosening that, you pull apart the two plastic containers, two plastic, whatever you want to call those things. They sort of capture the front sight. You pull them apart. You bring this one out, you bring that one out, or you know, bring one of them out, whatever the case. And then you sort of reposition where they are within that area, and then you tighten one of them back down. All right? So if you wanted to move it this way, you would loosen this one, and then you would push that one further in. Does that make sense? It didn't make much sense to me at first, and I don't feel like it's very precise. I still don't. It is clunky, as I said before. You can get it done. You know, you can get this windage where you want it to be. You can get the elevation where you want it to be. But like I said, man, I think it's clunky. It's slow. It's not precise. I wish they had gone with something a little better. Brings me back to what I said before, how Kel-Tec is innovative in their designs, but I wish they'd spend a little more time with them and kind of do it right. The front sight, in my opinion, was not done right. You can replace this front sight. I believe a company called Red Lion Precision makes a front sight that is, a lot of people say, superior to this one. In order to replace that, what I understand is you'd actually have to just kind of break this thing off You got to knock that entire thing off. It's not replaceable. Once you get it off, it's broken because I think they glue it on. So you just have to break it off, put the other side on there, and use that in place of this. Down the barrel we go. What we're looking at is a blued barrel, and you can see the, I think you can see the machine marks in it. So once again, kind of an example of Kel-Tec getting the job done, but not really spending their time and making it beautiful. Gas operated, as they said, and there are some little gas vents out there that will get this area pretty dirty. Okay, and that is the whole gas tube with the piston going down it and so forth. The magazine well, as you can see, and the magazine release is right there, right where I think it should be for a gun like this. Okay, pretty much AR style, and that's a good thing, I think. So some of your AR training or knowledge will carry over to this gun, not safety wise, but as far as the release is concerned, it will. Of course, as I mentioned before, it does come with these 10-round Kel-Tec magazines, which work just fine. They don't really drop free. You got to pull them out. But if you get some of these ones, those actually have the Magpul followers in them. Get some of these. I believe these ones will drop free. Let's have a look. Somewhat drop free. Whatever the case, they work just fine. There's a bolt handle, of course. That could maybe protrude out a little more. I like the fact, I guess, that it's kind of small because it just adds to the potential compactness of the gun. And you know, I think they're really trying to sell the fact that it folds in half, allows you to store it in small places. And with a relatively small bolt handle, you know, that kind of adds to the compactness of it, potential compactness of it. Which also feels good, works well. Got no problems with the way the bolt operates or how it feels. As my camera has a heart attack, sorry. There's that Picatinny rail I mentioned before, which works really well with something like a red dot like this one, a Bushnell TRS-25 red dot. And I mentioned in a previous video that I think this red dot is a great choice for this gun because it does allow you to co-witness. These sights are so low, all right? They really are. This one's just right on the rail. It doesn't rise up in the least bit. So having a way to actually co-witness would be really hard. You know, what you're probably going to end up doing with any other red dot system is putting it on a riser that has one of those sort of holes going through it that you can look through, a peep through riser, or whatever you call those things. So, and that'll just kind of bring your point of aim all the way up there, or, you know, kind of mess that up. So my point is, I think this is one of the best choices you can probably make to go with this gun. Moving down, the grip, you know, I like it. It's kind of a traditional, more of a hunter style, you know, sort of the Everyman rifle idea. And so I don't mind it too much, you know, getting a hold of it, it feels fine. It's got some good texturing on it, and here on the side as well. And yeah, it works. It works. There's not really any complaints with the grip. The stock as well. Don't really have any problems with the stock. The cheek weld is fine. It's, you know, it brings your eye right up to where it ought to be. In my feeling, in my experience, that works pretty well. And then of course the butt pad is a little rubberized thing, and it works just fine. And you see a little detent there, which allows it to fold and sort of meet up with the barrel, as I demonstrated earlier. And that's how it basically retains in that folded position. Let's talk about the trigger real quick, and the safety, of course, is just one of those push-through style safeties. Okay. And of course, red means dead. That's how that works. Let's talk about the trigger. How does it feel? Good. I like the trigger, actually. I feel like it's a very, very adequate trigger. I haven't felt tons and tons of rifle triggers, but this one breaks cleanly. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of take-up or a lot of over travel at all. Yeah, I don't really notice or feel any. It's got that sort of simple, just very little travel to it and a clean break. So I've got no complaints about the trigger. There are a number of other reviews here on YouTube that demonstrate a good field strip and cleaning of this gun. I may just reference one or two of those rather than trying to show it to you. Suffice it to say, I have done it. I don't feel like it's that difficult. It did take me a little while the first time, but it's not hard to do. Get that thing nice and clean, keep it operating well, and I think it's a pretty reliable design anyway, so you're probably not going to have to do that all that often. So one last thing I want to emphasize about the Kel-Tec SU-16a is that I bought it as a stopgap. Stopgap meaning something to have as I'm saving up for something better. And I think it is very adequate as that, you know, and possibly as a gun that just stays with you indefinitely, and your only gun, your only sort of long gun that is a potential battle rifle. It is that, I think. It is a decent sport utility rifle for the everyman. At a cost of $500 or so, you can get into a decent 223 that's compatible with M16 mags. That is cool. That takes a good red dot or any other type of scope without much difficulty or modification. That is really cool. Folds in half, for crying out loud. It's got an integrated bipod. Those are some pretty cool features. And you get all of that in a package that's around $500. That's really, really cool. Okay, and also the weight, as I mentioned before, only around 5 pounds. There's a whole lot of great features with this gun. A lot of reasons to make this maybe your only battle rifle, your only everyman's battle rifle. But for me, I see this as a stopgap. Something that I'm having right now, that I'm using right now, that I'm practicing with right now, and trying to get proficient with right now. And in the meantime, saving up for something a little better. What's that going to be exactly? I'm still making some decisions about that. Could be an AR, could be a type of AK, whatever. Whatever the case, I think the SU-16a, as I mentioned before, great everyman's rifle, good stopgap rifle, potentially keep this thing for a very long time, make it your only battle rifle. It will still do a great job as that. So that's my review, guys, of the Kel-Tec SU-16a. Thanks for sticking with me throughout this long-ish review. I try to give all the information I can on the gun reviews. You know, they're not just knives, they're not just multi-tools where you can just whip through them in 5 minutes and be done. I want to give you guys some good information on this stuff, and hopefully I've done that. Well, I'm the Late Boy Scout. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.